And welcome back to The Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm John Wilson.
I'm Gordon Demowski.
And I'm Captain Ron Fortier.
And you are now listening to Zone 4. What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, Secret Wars, Battle World, Convergence, just call it a crisis, guys. That's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering Zone 4. All right, so welcome back to episode 294 of Zone 4. Only 6 away from the big 300.
Oh my goodness.
Only 6 away from our first ever break.
I think I'm looking forward to that as much as the big 300 episode.
Yeah, I'm telling you. It's going to be nice to sit back and just relax through the holidays instead of getting on here and having fun with each other, but, you know.
Yeah, well, especially after this week. I mean, with that earth-shattering event that happened early in the week that, you know, people from all over the globe are all taken with. You know, I'm obviously talking about my birthday.
No, of course. Yeah. No question what you're talking about.
Democrats and Republicans, independents all, wishing the captain a happy 68th birthday. Holy smokes. Wow. I woke up in the morning, turned on my PC, pulled up my email. I already had like 127 wishes already.
Wow.
And, that's impressive.
It was like, well, so I made a personal vow to myself this year that I was going to thank each and every person that wished me a happy birthday, which was, boy, I'm not doing that next year because it didn't stop all day long. I'd come back like every 30 minutes and I had like another 10, another 20, and I did. I hung in there, and towards the end of the day, I went up and posted several batch notices on Facebook, basically thanking people and begging apologies if I missed any single person. And so that's why I'm kind of glad we're doing the show tonight, because it gives me an opportunity to vocally here again thank everybody who wished me a great day and sent all kinds of wacky, crazy cartoons, music videos. I mean, somebody sent me a YouTube video. You guys are going to kick out of this. So I click onto it, and it was the classical music composer Zubin Mehta at some function he did years ago in Europe, where he basically played Happy Birthday according to like the 6 top classical composers.
Oh, wow.
So there was Happy Birthday Mozart style, Happy Birthday Beethoven style, Happy Birthday Wagner style,
Wow.
It was cool. It was cool. Like I said, all kinds of wacky, wild stuff. So thank you. Thank you, internet friends, family, associates, and all that good stuff. It was most generous and kind of all of you. And hey, ended up being best birthday ever, guys.
Awesome. Very cool. Glad to hear it. Before we get too far into the show, we should mention we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find us each and every Friday on comicspodcasts.com. And I'm getting better with that. It's not so lispy now.
Oh, you are. You just rattled that right off.
So for this week's episode, we're just kind of going loose form, everybody. We're talking about some headlines, some different stuff that came up that caught our attention. And, hopefully you guys will enjoy it and leave us some feedback on what you think about what we're talking about. So, who wants to go first? Because I know everybody's kind of kept their eye on like different things, and I know, Ron, that you got a chance to watch the Marvel From Pulp to Pulp. I know I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. I want to. I heard it was great. So,
yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. For those folks who didn't see it, a very quick and really well-written, edited 1-hour documentary on the history of Marvel Comics, going back to its early days when it was still timely. And, I mean, really, some amazing photographs of young Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and I mean, some of the all-time comic greats, chiming in and talking about the rise of Marvel, even to this point where in the 80s it filed bankruptcy, its comeback, and eventually the creation of Marvel Studios into multimedia, animation, cartoons. And again, just really, really a superb, fast-paced, informative little documentary. I kind of hope someday that it pops up on the back of a Blu-ray someplace, just to have it. Emily, what's her name? Van Camp,
yeah.
Right, was the host who, and introduced herself as Agent 13 of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was cool. But the real surprise to me, guys, was when we got to the end of it, when we got to the end of the show, they literally brought us in and gave us a clip of Ant-Man.
Oh, wow.
And then an extended clip of Peggy Carter, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has since popped up on YouTube. But the just in conjunction with that, if people haven't seen this already, this popped up online, and I wanted to bring it up. We're talking about the documentary. Supposedly, news got out that where they were filming Ant-Man, put out a casting call for Peggy Carter lookalikes. So apparently, somewheres in the Ant-Man film, we're going to go back to post World War II, and we're going to see a young Henry Pym and Howard Stark and Peggy Carter and blah blah blah, which is going to be part of the Ant-Man film itself. I love that tie-in stuff. Oh, and the other thing, I talked about Peggy Carter. The other thing was we got another clip of Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, and there is a sequence where you see the Scarlet Witch screaming, and of course there's no sound to it, but when you look at it real quick, you got to freeze the frame, you see the Vision in the background.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I had not seen that yet. I'd heard about the Ant-Man thing, and I thought that was really cool that they were tying in Pym's whole contribution to this whole thing into the, since we haven't gotten him in the Avengers movies or anything, that's pretty cool.
Well, well, it's interesting because I've read in some places, and this is pure rumor, that like the whole idea was that Pym was one of the original superheroes before we had, you had Captain America, and that essentially Pym's Ant-Man came between when Captain America got frozen and the Avengers Initiative. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting way to address the fact that, Pym is not one of the original Avengers in this particular timeline, I guess you might call it.
Right, and I also like the fact, again, playing with all these kind of things, that it is really tying the Ant-Man into the whole history of this universe. I mean, to go back to Peggy Carter and the starts of S.H.I.E.L.D., all right, says a lot. And as Gordon said, it's really great, and like yourself too, Brant, to see Pym get established into this world. One of the things I'm kind of hoping that ultimately we're going to get to see someplace, if not in the movies themselves, that maybe in the Peggy Carter series someday, because again, the gentleman playing Howard Stark is going to be a regular on that 8-episode, maxi series, whatever you want to call it. But I'm kind of hoping that ultimately we see him getting married. You know what I'm saying? Because, he's Tony's father. Somewhere along the line, he had to settle down and have little Tony. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Which would be really cool to see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. Speaking of the whole Ant-Man thing, this is also a rumor that I heard. It's going around that whole flashback thing was one of the sticking points for the original director, Edgar Wright, and why he left. So I don't know why he would be against that. Unless he just wanted to have his own vision and do his own thing with it,
Well, I do recall, now you say that, though, I do recall there were hints that was the cause of the rift. All right, that Kevin Feige and the whole Marvel team do want to integrate these movies together.
Right.
And that had caused a little bit of an ego problem with the way the film was being made. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's sad to hear. You would have to figure that, of course, it's going to tie in.
Well, right.
All their movies do. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole point of what they've done in the past is all about that now, and it's proven so successful. It would seem kind of illogical to think they'd come out with a movie now in the Marvel superhero movie universe that somehow or other didn't tie in with the rest of them. That would be absolute insanity.
Yeah, no, I agree. John, what do you think about all that?
I think you're right. There's no such thing as a standalone movie anymore.
Yeah.
As far as Marvel's concerned. I really liked the Peggy Carter clip. I thought it was rather funny. I really liked the way they portrayed Jarvis. I thought that was kind of brilliant, but
I'm gonna have to watch this clip now.
Yeah, it's a really good clip. It's not long. It's only a few minutes long, but Jarvis was really. You can kind of see the evolution from the Jarvis that we know, the electronic system, and how he may have evolved from this actual person.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to see the special, but I caught the clips on YouTube. So, it is a pretty substantial clip. And just to touch on the whole Edgar Wright thing, the whole irony of this is that Edgar Wright is really good when he makes a movie. His style is to throw in various other styles that kind of move along with it. So, like Shaun of the Dead, there are allusions to other zombie movies. Hot Fuzz, there's all sorts of allusions to action movies. In World's End, there's some allusions to British science fiction, including obscure novels that only I've read. So you'd think that if he's going to leave a movie, he's the guy you'd want to fold in the allusions to the past. But I'm wondering if this was a case of he wanted to do it in one way, and Marvel said, no, you need to be blatant about it. So, I mean, it's a shame that he felt he had to leave because of that, because I know he was working on Ant-Man before Marvel said, hey, we want to do that movie. So, just putting that out there.
Cool. I was just looking through some news articles. We mentioned Agent Carter, and I just saw this, and I wanted to bring it up. And sorry to totally go off track of what you were saying, Gordon. I apologize.
No problem.
But and we can get right back to that. But I just wanted to mention this. They added another cast member to Agent Carter, played by Bridget Regan, who most recently was on Jane the Virgin and White Collar, but I don't know if you guys watched Legends of the Secret, but she was also Kaylin on that show.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, so she's going to be they describe her as a small-town girl from Iowa who will have a huge impact on the life of Agent Carter. So.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
So basically, what you're saying, Brant, is she's a small-town girl living in a lonely world who took the midnight train going anywhere. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she went to Detroit, but yeah. Oh, man. But yeah. So, no, that's interesting about Edgar Wright, though. It's just, that's a whole, there's always going to be stuff we don't know about, what that went on behind the scenes with those kind of things.
Yeah. But I give him credit because he's the only guy who ever made a zombie movie that I actually liked, which was Shaun of the Dead. Okay,
yeah, which was good.
Yeah, it was funny as all get out. My son called me up to go see it when it first came out, and knowing very much that I don't care for zombie movies, and he said, "Dad, I've seen the trailers. You're gonna like it. You got to come see this with me." So to placate him, I said, "Okay." And I really did. I absolutely loved I laughed my butt off, start to finish. So kudos to Mr. Wright, okay? And hopefully he landed on his feet and he's working on another project someplace.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Oh man, did you guys hear about the whole the newest update about the Marvel Secret Wars thing?
No.
Okay.
Apparently they have a planet now.
Yeah. Basically, they released, I think it was today, they released a video teaser after all those single image teasers that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. They released a video teaser, and in the teaser, well, first the accompanying text says everything ends, Secret Wars begins or commences or something like that. And the video teaser is just like a minute long, and it shows all these teasers popping up on a planet, and it turns out that all these universes are ending, and it's created this planet called Battle World, and that's where Secret Wars is taking place. So Ultimate Universe, all these Old Man Logan universe, all this stuff is ending. All these universes are done, and they're all colliding together in this whole Secret Wars thing. That's what this has all been about. So
it's almost like there's a kind of like conflict or a crisis of different worlds or different Earths. I mean, would that be an honest assessment, Brant? Would you say?
I think it could definitely have infinite implications. Yes.
Because it's funny too, because DC also just announced in April their big event was Convergence.
Yes. Exactly. Which is basically the same thing, right? They did admit, John, that the pre-New 52 and all these other universes do coexist.
I called it.
So, yeah. They are all there, and they're all converging in April. So next summer, both companies are entering their own version of a crisis, I guess.
Yeah, couldn't they just, go back on what they said before and just call it a crisis?
They should. Convergence.
I mean, honestly, that's
like,
what it is. Convergence. Come on.
They were like, what other C word can we use?
Yeah.
And the saddest thing is it's not just ripping off like Secret Wars and Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's also a little bit of a ripoff of Countdown Arena.
Yeah, it is.
Which is sad.
Wow, I'd forgotten all about that.
Which is sad that anything would rip off Countdown Arena.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, that is one of the better off forgotten series.
I think Countdown as a whole is one of the better forgotten series.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, but it ranks right up there with the Infinity Crisis or whatever that was.
Infinite Crisis or
Final
Crisis?
Infinity.
The Infinity.
On the Marvel side, yeah.
Oh, the Infinity. What was it? Was it Crisis?
Yeah, I think so, or it was something Crisis.
You talking about the follow up to Infinity Gauntlet or later? Yeah, okay. Anyway, Marvel and DC leaving you scratch your heads every day. So what else?
So kids, this is why it's important to buy indie books.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I say to you. Oh.
Speaking of Marvel foibles, Ron, you sent us an email with some talking points. I got to know now what.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, look. I debated this for a little bit because when you got in touch with us this afternoon about doing the show tonight and what we were going to do for an agenda or whatever. I got my latest stash of comics last week. I get them by mail from a good friend of mine. I was very excited about the new kickoff series for the new Winter Soldier series because I really like that character, and I like, the other series that ended and whatever, so I was really anxious to see what they were going to do with him. And honestly, guys, I mean, I opened this thing up, and my eyes went blind. Yep. It is by far the most subpar, bad art I have ever seen in a professional comic. And, guys, when I say that, I'm talking about well over 50 years of reading comic books, okay? I survived when Bill Sienkiewicz, showed up at Marvel and did New Mutants, and it was like, what the hell is this stuff? This guy's on acid. But ultimately, you began to understand shape and form and realize Sienkiewicz was just, really talented graphic illustrator. The guy doing Winter Soldier, honest to God, it looks like all he did was take colors and splash them across the page. There are no panel borders, no panel gutters. The dialogue balloons are scattered all over the page. I would defy anybody, and I put this challenge out to the Zone 4 loyal Legionnaires to tell me what the hell is happening on every single page in that book. It is such a mess, all right? I mean, the story's half-hearted. I mean, why even bother with the story? I mean, it's so flimsy, all right? And I have to, my heart goes out to whoever's writing this, because to have that kind of art come in on trying to tell a cohesive narrative is totally impossible, okay? This looks like a psychedelic nightmare. I am not going to mention the artist's name. Mom told me when I was a kid, you get nothing nice to say about somebody, don't say that. Well, you know what? I can't just let this go, because basically, after suffering through it, I immediately got a hold of my comic book guy and said, take this off my list right now. There is no way I'm paying a bloody penny for this kind of nouveau art or amateur crap or whatever. All right? But people out there, beware. Marvel's Winter Soldier just tanked to the max.
Yeah, you know what? I read that first issue, too. I was a fan of the Winter Soldier. I was a fan of what they were going to do with this particular book coming out of Original Sin. I thought it was a really interesting concept for that character. And it was the same thing. I was familiar with the art as soon as I opened it up, because this artist did a Marvel Knights Spider-Man miniseries last year. And I remember all of us on Comic Frontline, we were like totally bagging the art, because none of us liked it, and we totally dropped it after the first issue or two. And there was some backlash from fans of this artist to one of the members on Frontline, because she reviewed the book, and his fans just went ballistic on her. And the actual artist was like, I respect her opinion, just calm down and stop attacking the girl. But I'm not a fan either, Ron. I completely agree with I know exactly which artist it is. And I won't say either, but yeah, it's terrible in my opinion.
Let me ask a question, because I know now a couple of episodes ago, and I don't think I was I was on the hosting thing. There was a comic that was about like an ex-con in LA with like weird superpowers that I think was published by Image, and the art in that was atrocious. I mean, is it that level of bad, or is it an even deeper level of bad?
I'm trying to remember. Oh, deeper. Okay.
I remember the book you're talking about, Gordon. And as amateurish as that looked, at least you could decipher people and what was going on. All right? I mean, stick figures, you could decipher what's going on. This thing, I challenge anybody to tell me what's going on. All right? It boggles the logic in my brain. We all understand we're comic book geeks. We get the concept of graphic storytelling. Mm-hmm. To bring in somebody like this, who obviously, was dancing to a totally alien drummer here, all right? This doesn't work. There's no freaking way it works. Again, like I said, it's some kind of avant-garde. If I just splash on colors and this and that, and we put word balloons over it, it'll make sense. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. He's trying to be painterly. He's trying to be very painter-like in his presentation, and the layouts are kind of abstract in the way they flow and stuff. And
good word. Yeah.
Yeah, there really is no flow to them, and it's just very muddy and just it's kind of a mess in my opinion.
I mean, first rule, people, of comic graphic storytelling. No viewer should have to try to interpret what the hell you're drawing.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not fine art. This is comic art. It's, like you said, sequential storytelling. There has to be sequential storytelling in it. Not saying it's not at the level of fine art. You know what I'm saying? But
I mean, again, we go round and around with this. I mean, imagine Picasso doing this.
Exactly. Right.
It's like, Picasso brings you the Fantastic Four. No thanks. Okay.
There's a time and place for experimentation like that, and it's not in a superhero monthly title.
No.
That's my opinion. So
there you go. Yep. Which again, and I'm really upset because I like the character and I like the concept of what they wanted to do with this series.
Right.
But I'm sorry. This artist needs to get a job in some other commercial art. Mm-hmm. Do paintings, go to a gallery someplace or whatever, but he really doesn't belong in comics. No way.
Agreed.
And if anyone listening decides that they don't appreciate Ron's opinion and they're going to defend this artist and come snarking at us, please note that John and I are co-hosts, and we can give as good as we get when it comes to snark.
Better.
It's true. be warned.
Yes. All right. We can debate each other, but attack one of the gang, and we got our backs, people. Pay attention.
Yeah, it's like ancient Rome. You attack one of us, you attack all of us.
Amen. So anyways, that was my fun report for the week.
So, Gordon, I know you had a couple things you wanted to talk about.
Well, first in movie news, first I was able to talk about DC Convergence. Obviously, dumb idea. The official subtitle to Star Wars Episode 7 was released today.
Yes.
And its subtitle is Star Wars 7, The Force Awakens, ... then hits the snooze button.
It's not the title. Yeah, go ahead.
I got to add this. You guys are going to crack up, okay? Because I coming into the office to do this recording, my wife's sitting there in the bedroom. She got on the evening news. This made the evening news, guys.
Oh,
I want to talk about a slow news day.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm starting to walk by, and I hear the guy going, when we come back from our break, big news on the Star Wars 7 front. I went, huh? Valerie looked at me. I said, I know what it is. You'll die laughing. And that was it.
It's not the title that bothers me. It's the logo treatment. It's like they took the original Star Wars logo, just separated it, and just put text in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Just plain text.
It's pathetic. I mean, It's got the hand of George Lucas all over this.
It's bad, yeah.
Oh.
Real quick, going back to Convergence, I just want to say I'm kind of more curious about that one. I think it could be interesting to see the multiverse collide. But go ahead, Gordon, about Star Wars.
Well, I was about to say it's with Star Wars. I just think it's interesting that they decided to go in the most vague direction possible.
Yeah.
It's like because it like A New Hope, you kind of get what it's about. Empire Strikes Back, you get what it's about. Return of the Jedi. The Phantom Menace is kind of a lie because there's really no menace. Attack of the Clones, okay, you get it. Revenge of the Sith. The Force Awakens, I mean... but another interesting news, and this, I just read this before we started recording, Toy Story 4
Yes.
is coming out. And also, fun little Star Wars fact, George Lucas's new wife, Melody Hobson, was actually a year behind me in high school. We went to the same high school together.
Oh, wow.
So my high school, I can claim a pedigree of Bob Newhart,
Nice.
Ooh,
Andre
neat.
Brower,
Cool.
There you go.
and Melody Hobson.
Wow.
Awesome.
There you go. Jeez. Were you in there, Gordon? That's the Fantastic Four. For sure. I like that.
There you go.
Hey, let me add a few things to the Star Wars things real quick, which I think obviously tie in. And that was last week, the end of last week, they did in London, L Street Studios, wrap up principal photography. There was a big cast party, and all the stars have now gone home. The things left in the special effects hands in post-production. But within 24 hours of all of that, Anthony Daniels, who plays C-3PO, was ranting and raving all over any news outlet that would listen to him about how much fun they had making this movie. And he said, boy, talk about raising the bar. He said, this is even better than The Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
So like I said, that's raising the bar, guys.
That is definitely raising the bar and raising my eyebrow. But we'll see.
Not that he doesn't have a vested interest, but,
True.
But he got right out there fanboy-like and said that. I said, holy smokes, okay.
Yep, and after he said that, J.J. Abrams reached into his wallet and gave him a $20 bill.
That said, I do have faith in Abrams. I do generally like his stuff, so, we'll see.
Yeah. Oh, he's a good storyteller. There's no ifs and buts about that.
He is. So. And, sci-fi kind of is in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he's a fanboy. He's a fanboy of Star Wars.
Right.
So, I mean, aside from, expectations of where it's going to rank as far as quality compared to, the previous 6 or whatever, I just do not want it to be boring.
Right.
And knowing Abrams' ability to twist, he's like Josh Whedon. He likes to do different things with storytelling. Mm-hmm. And so, fingers crossed, guys. It's going to be a roller coaster ride, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And just to add to the Toy Story thing, its target date is June 16, 2017. Oof. Still got a ways to go before it.
Wow, that's a lot of post.
Yeah. But Tom Hanks and Tim Allen are reprising their roles, so that's good. So.
Well, now that Andy's gone, they have to figure out how to link it up with the rest of the Pixar universe.
Right. That would be interesting. I wonder how many little cameos of Alls and Nemos and stuff we'll see in this one.
Hey, I just want a Toy Story Incredibles team-up movie.
Oh man,
that would be nice.
That'd be wild. Yep.
That would be pretty cool.
I would have to agree.
Oh, go ahead, Ron.
No, I was going to say we got some rather cool movies coming out when you're listening to this week. Big Hero 6 is coming out from Marvel and Disney, and the new science fiction film from Christopher Nolan, Interstellar, is coming out. And I have a few friends in California who saw a preview of it last night, and they're giving it major thumbs up. So that's all really, exciting. I had mentioned, I saw something on Facebook later this evening that I wanted to bring up, and I teased you guys with it a little bit. It's just been announced today that the studios in Hollywood are doing a big budget film version of the $6 Million Man.
Oh, wow.
Actually, $1 billion Man.
Yes, billion.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And anybody? I mean, has anybody else seen this release?
No. I have.
Okay, so you guys know. So, Brant, you want to take a stab at who's going to be Steve Austin?
Oh, boy. Please tell me it's not Channing Tatum.
No, but
no, it's not Channing Tatum.
I'll give you a little hint,
all right.
Brant. Feel it.
Feel it. I don't know. You got to give me a better hint.
Feel the vibration.
Okay, here's another hint. Think Funky Bunch.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg.
Yes.
Okay.
Marky Mark is a $6 billion man.
Never saw that coming.
Well, they're going to have to give him leg extensions because he's show blasted short.
We can
he
make
doesn't
him
exactly
taller.
have front legs.
Right? Yeah, never mind fast. I can see it. We can make him taller.
We can make him taller. We can make him the size of a real actor.
We can give him charisma.
No.
I actually like him.
They'll need more than $1 billion for that.
The only role I haven't really liked him in is that M. Night Shyamalan Llama Llama Ding Dong movie. I'm sorry, that was
Llama Ding Dong.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how to.
That was only slightly racist.
It was slightly racist. I apologize. I deeply apologize for that. But no, is it Shyamalan? How do you pronounce
Shyamalan.
it?
You were
Shyamalan?
right.
Oh, I was right. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I was making fun of myself more than his name, but yeah, Shyamalan.
Well, he deserves it for the quality of his last movies, but still.
What was that movie called? The one that he was in?
The Happening?
Yes. Oh, such an awful movie. But he was awful in that movie too. But other than that, I like him in most stuff.
Well, I like the last big thing he's done. Aside from Transformers 4, the one thing he did this past year that I really enjoyed to the max was the story of Mark Luttrell, the Navy SEAL, Lone Survivor.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I recommend it highly. It's really a powerful story, and about a botched Navy SEAL mission in Afghanistan, and Luttrell was the only one of the team to get out and survive it, and Wahlberg plays him, and it's really a brutal war movie, but well worth seeing. Really well done, and in fact, Gordon was talking about high school alumni. I went to school with a girl who married, had a family, and her son was one of the Army Rangers who died in the rescue attempt to save those guys.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Lone Survivor, it's out on DVD if you get a chance to watch it. I mean, honest to God, these guys are America's, heroes and warriors, and the movie does them justice. And kudos to Wahlberg, because unlike other Hollywood stars, Wahlberg is never claimed to be as strong, tough, or whatever as these guys. He humbly said it was an honor to play the role, and he still has nothing but admiration for America's military servicemen and women.
Yeah, there you go. You mentioned Big Hero 6, and I saw an article I wanted to bring up. Jamie Chung, who she voiced one of the characters in the movie, Gogo Tamago. She also, Ron, or whoever of you watches Once Upon a Time, you might remember as Mulan from Once Upon a Time.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
She's always wanted to play a superhero role, and she is wanting to play Psylocke in an X-Men film. I think that'd be
different.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she would be awesome in that.
Yeah, I agree. So I just had to mention that because I saw that headline. I was like, oh, that would be like perfect for me. So I love Psylocke as a character, and I like her as an actress. So there you go. I should mention some sad news that took place earlier this week. Artist Jeremy Dell passed away at age 34 this week. He's the creator of a book called Skyward that's published by Action Lab. He's also worked on G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, When It Was a Devil's Due. He and I were actually studio mates a few years ago at a little indie studio, Roman Studios, and I've talked to him on a couple of occasions in person, and I know John might have as well, or I know Chuck did.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so sad to hear any of our fellow creators pass away, but especially at that young age. So.
Yeah, I did not know the gentleman myself, but I've read the releases online this week, and people were really caught flat-footed. Apparently, he got sick rather quickly, and before anybody understood the severity of it, he was gone.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So yeah, our hearts go out to the family and friends of Jeremy Dell, his wife Kelly, and I understand. I should mention this. Somebody has started a GoFundMe page to assist her with expenses. So.
Oh, great, awesome.
Yeah, so I'll try to remember to include a link to that in the show notes. So, all right, John, did you see anything that caught your interest?
Well, I did have a few. Thanks for the peppy opening there, but
I apologize for that, but I didn't want the show to go by without mentioning it.
No, that's fine. This will be it's not really a comic story, but it tends to come up an awful lot here on our little program. Our buddy Channing Tatum,
yes,
is circling a role in the new Quentin Tarantino bloody western. Bloody, not in the British sense, bloody as in a whole lot of blood sense, called The Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Hanging out with such luminaries as Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Tim Roth. So, there you go.
Okay.
If you're a big Quentin Tarantino fan, once again set near the end of the Civil War.
Well, if he's not in the lead role, there's a good chance he'll die. So I mean,
there's a good chance a lot of them will die.
Right, exactly. It's Tarantino.
Yeah, because I'm thinking I could see it now. Kurt Russell beats the crap out of Channing Tatum, and Sam Jackson puts a bullet in his head. I would pay to see that movie.
There you go. That could possibly happen, given that it is a Tarantino movie. It's kind of a
so
people
I
trapped in a
endorse
mountain
this.
pass sort of movie.
You endorse it, Gordon?
Yeah, if there's
this
physical
message?
violence to Channing Tatum, I highly endorse it. I mean, I love the fact that Haywire by Steven Soderbergh is my favorite movie of all time, for two reasons.
Yeah, because Gina Carano kicks the stuff out of him.
Ron, the thing is, you're omitting the best part. It happens within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
That is true. Yeah, it does.
She wails on him bad. Oh, my God.
And then some. Actually, to get back to Star Wars, This is Marvel Star Wars news.
Oh, okay.
Now, for a lot of people, you may be too young to remember this, but way back in the 1970s when dinosaurs made comics, there was a Star Wars book at Marvel, as there will be again in a little bit. Yep. There was a character named Jaxon. He was a big green rabbit from the Lepi race, or Lepi race, or, however you want to pronounce that. Well, it would appear in the very, very first issue of the Marvel Star Wars book. Guess who's back?
Yep.
He's the Jar Jar Binks of the comic Star Wars.
Exactly, and they've done a cute little variant cover where you've got Luke, Leia, Han, R2, Chewbacca, and Darth Vader on one side of a door, and you've got Jackson on the other.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's going, hello, anybody? I can hear you breathing.
Yeah.
And Vader's on the other side with like, what? Hands, and he's doing his.
Yeah.
He's like, they're all like, shut up. So yeah, that's a cute little piece of Star Wars trivia for anybody. I don't know how much of a role he'll actually play in this. It could have just been a funny thing for the cover, but there is that. In TV or TV on the computer news, I guess you would call it. Anybody who's interested in seeing Bullseye in the new Daredevil series, get over it. It's not happening.
Oh, are you serious?
There is no one. They were directly asked who was going to play Bullseye in the series on Twitter, and he said no one. Well, there will be no Bullseye, at least in the beginning of this series. It's going to focus on Kingpin.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. It would, but eventually there should be a Bullseye.
Maybe.
Unless they're going to take the character into film again.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Or, if without introducing Elektra, you don't so much need a Bullseye right away.
I guess.
So we'll see.
And that could be a season 2 arc.
That could be. That could be. He didn't say never. He just said not now.
Yeah, because you do season 1 with Kingpin, you do season 2 with Bullseye, and then season 3 is Elektra. Yeah. And Bullseye comes back, and okay, there you go.
Yeah, I could see it like that. Just you had me scared, like they were never going to do Bullseye.
No.
I'm like, no.
Never say never.
You have to have Bullseye with Daredevil. It's just that's like having Batman without the Joker. It doesn't happen.
Oh, that's a leap, dude.
Well, maybe.
That's a little bit.
In my mind, it is. Okay.
Normally I don't agree with John, but in this one, I'm in perfect agreement.
Okay, well, all right. I will concede to the fact that Kingpin is more the top villain for Daredevil.
Yeah, it's like maybe Batman without the Riddler.
Okay, fair enough. You're right.
Or, Bane maybe, or whatever.
Yeah, I concede to that.
Batman without the Mad Hatter.
It's not.
That's a little bit of a leap in the other direction. And the last really interesting thing I found is, I'm sure people saw that they are planning to introduce Zed into Constantine.
I'm not familiar with who that is. I've never read Hellblazer.
It's a kind of female character with a mysterious past sort of thing. Well, on tomorrow's episode, they're going to be, or today's episode as you are reading this or hearing this,
reading the podcast as you're reading the podcast. We're transcribing it for you right now. Yeah.
That's right, because it's in Braille for those who want it.
Yeah. See, this is how Brant spends all his sleepless nights. He actually types out the podcast for you to read rather than listen because.
I'm expecting to see Spanish subtitles any minute running across my computer screen. You know what I'm saying?
Feliz Navidad. Well, back at the ranch, Papa Midnight's popping up, and Papa Midnight was that's good. A major character within the a powerful adversary, as they put it, kind of a big pain in the ass is a better way to put it for John Constantine, and embodied by a guy named Michael James Shaw, who I'm not really familiar with off the top of my head, but he's got an extremely good look in the teaser trailer that they're showing. So
yeah, I still have to watch last week's episode of.
I'm a little behind myself on that. I'm once again way behind on Arrow, but
yeah.
Hey, I speaking of Arrow, because I got to jump in, both feet this time. Last night's episode was the best of this season by far, only because it was Felicity's episode.
Felicity.
We got to see her background story, and her mom showed up, and that's all I'm going to say.
Good, because I haven't seen it yet.
My wife was beside herself. It was the best episode this season so far. Like, we don't need to hear anything else. Okay, we don't need to see the rest of these guys. Just keep showing us Felicity, please,
Let me guess, her mom was the Huntress, and or the Tigress from.
Trust me, I do not know who the actress is who played her mom. But when you guys see this, you will definitely flip out, because they wisely, all right. Basically, Felicity's so hot, all right. When you see her mom, you are going to die laughing, all right? Because she's a babe, all right? She's also a babe. And the dynamics between the two of them. And like I said, this whole episode, there's a threat, that's attacking the city. And lo and behold, and I'm not giving anything away because this was in the trailers, lo and behold, there's a connection to Felicity's past with this new threat to Starling City. And like I said, the young lady, who plays her does such a great job with it. And they got the perfect actress to play her mother. It's a fun episode. You guys will love it.
The woman that played her mom is Charlotte Ross. She was on NYPD Blue.
Okay, there you go. Beautiful lady. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know who she is. Seen her in a few things. She was in a Nicolas Cage movie, too. Not too long ago. She was actually even on an episode of Married with Children back in the day.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Well, she's one of those she's one of those wonderful ladies who gets lovelier with age.
Yeah. What'd you say, John? I'm sorry.
I would say, everyone needs a house payment, giving her a break on the Married with Children thing.
Yeah.
And the Nick Cage movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did any of you watch NYPD Blue at all?
I did off and on. So.
Oh yeah.
She was what's his name's girlfriend at one point. The shorter, balding guy.
Oh, Dennis Franz.
Yes. Yeah, they were together.
Did she show her butt a lot too?
Yes.
There you go.
There you go.
That was that show's thing. Yes.
that was that show's thing. We're showing Dennis Franz's butt.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, the man whose butt you least want to see on television.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those 6 degrees to Nicolas Cage, because he also showed his butt in City of Angels. So
well, yeah, that is true. He ran out into the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Hey, to take us off this Nicolas Cage thread, please. I have a news item.
Okay.
Well, as many listeners know, I have an interest in really dry, dull, boring things. And one of those things is federal jurisprudence, which is also the name of one of my favorite Beatles songs, but we don't need to go there. And this week...
Oh, yes. Good news.
Was, okay, after the Conan Doyle estate attempted to reapply for copyright for the Sherlock Holmes stories, the Supreme Court, who had said, finally, unequivocally, Sherlock Holmes is in the public domain. The only way this could be better is if we could, last week tonight with John Oliver, they did a story on how they wanted to take the audio transcripts of Supreme Court hearings and put in, like, dogs with fake hands.
Yeah,
I want to see this decision, but acted out with that footage. So I think it's safe to say, Ron, you never have to worry because you do good Sherlock Holmes books, but the world is now safe for crappy Sherlock Holmes crossover books.
Oh yeah, no more thugs out there, legal thugs out there trying to squeeze a penny out of small independent publishers wanting to keep this great character alive in the public. Absolutely wonderful news, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, and hey, it's just such a great character. Okay, I mean, you just want to keep him out there. I really wish something like this would happen to some of the pulp characters out there, okay, that stay locked up forever and licenses don't bother to keep them in front of the public and get some exposure, which is what always gets me shaking my head all the time. You have rights to things that could be making you big bucks and you sit on them. It's ridiculous.
Well, in other kind of pulp-related news, and this was a while ago, and Ron, you could probably speak to more of this. I think it was the Steger Publications kind of portfolio was kind of purchased or taken over by Altus Press.
Yeah. Altus Press is an outfit out of Massachusetts. It's owned and operated by a really great guy named Matt Mooring. And Will Murray, who's a very knowledgeable and well-loved writer in his own right, professional writer, and a well-known and admired pulp historian, has acted as Matt's pretty much, silent partner, consultant in the running of Altus Press. And Altus Press came on the scene, and I'm trying to think how old it would be now, and it's probably about 8 years old. And what they did was they started going out and collecting entire series of classic pulp characters, the B and C characters, and producing these absolutely beautiful new reprint collections of all these stories. So, as Gordon just mentioned, they literally went out and bought this catalog from one of the more productive pulp publishers of the Golden Age, Steger Incorporated, bought out their library, which bodes extremely well for the pulp community. Matt listed on their webpage an alphabetical list of all the, the little-known obscure pulp characters that Steger published, and we're going to be seeing even more great reprint collections in bound volumes of a lot of these characters. And as you know already, Gordon, Matt works hand in hand with Tommy Hancock and his Prose production, whereas they'll do a reprint collection of a certain character. At the same time, Tommy will be getting new writers to do new stories and put out a new anthology featuring that character. So again, you're right. For the entire pulp community, this was really exciting, fun news, and I'm really happy for Matt and Altus Press.
Yeah, and I have to commend them because I actually own quite a few of their Doc Savage books, as well as I have a couple of their Black Bat omnibuses. They reprinted Phillips Jose Farmer's Doc Savage, His Apocalyptic Life, and I've got a couple of their ebooks, and they do a really, really good professional job at picking out not even just, this isn't bottom of the barrel stuff. It's good stuff that's really not quite on your radar.
Yeah, when they first came on the scene, one of the first things they started to do, and again, one of the characters I'm particularly fond of, and we at Airship 27 have done several anthologies of this character, and that was the Black Bat that we had fun with in last week's radio skit. And there were a total of 45 Black Bat, novellas that appeared in his own magazine during the late 30s and early 40s. And one of the first things that Matt did was say, we are going to reprint every single one of those 45 novellas. And I think they've just released volume 5. Each volume of reprints not only, has brand new print of the actual stories, but when they can, they clean up the old interior illustrations and feature those as well. And each of the volumes had 5 or 6 Secret Agent X stories in it. So ultimately, I think they're on volume 5 now, but they're getting close to wrapping that up so that any pulp fan out there who's a Secret Agent X fan, and I know quite a few of them, will eventually be able to have the entire canon in these really beautiful reprint collections that anybody would be proud to have in their libraries.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
It's keeping it alive. That's what this is all about. That's again, why we're all excited in the community, because again, Matt has a deep respect for the genre and its history and cultural American, literature. Mm-hmm. And so that's what Altus Press does. They're a great outfit, and again, obviously very healthy, as Gordon and I know when we go to Windy City in Chicago every year. It seems like the show is getting bigger and bigger, and we're attracting more and more younger college age comic book fans, science fiction fans to come out to the show and find out about pulps.
That's awesome. It's really cool.
It's a little bit old news. Well, not real old news, but I don't know if a lot of people have noticed that Jack Kirby has finally gotten a credit line in the Marvel books.
Oh, I hadn't noticed.
Which is, I guess, part of the settlement, that finally came about with the Kirby heirs.
Right.
And all that rigmarole that's been going on for the past several years. In several of the books, it now says, such and such created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Nice.
So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. It's always nice to see people get the credit they're due.
Long overdue. Long overdue.
Exactly. I just noticed a couple of stories. This is really kind of a non-story, but I thought I'd mention it. Ellie Pyle, who's been working as an editor for Marvel on the Spider-Man books and Daredevil, and she helped launch this new Silk character. She's left Marvel and is going to Vertigo in DC. So, yeah. She's also, which I didn't know, she's also an actress, a playwright, and a novelist.
Wow, busy.
Yeah. So, and the other one is John Roche, who is he's been the colorist on Invincible for a while. Apparently, he got let go from the book, and they're looking for new colors, and it was kind of this whole thing about why he was let go and all this stuff. So he was very vague on it, but he did say it wasn't his choice, and he would stay on the book until the end if he had the choice to. So that's why the last issue of the book was like 11 weeks ago, or 9 weeks ago or something. That's probably partially why. But, yeah.
You mentioned that, and I have to go back to full circle how we started the episode tonight. In showing the birth of Marvel Comics in the '60s, mm-hmm. They're going through each of the titles as they premiere. So you got Stan talking about the Fantastic Four, and he talks about how he loved monsters, and that helped inspire the Thing. And then he goes into one of his greatest monsters was Frankenstein. All of a sudden we're seeing Bruce Banner and the Hulk, right? And they're showing you the first issue, and they were using some of that motion stuff, with the graphics, mm-hmm. with the covers moving and stuff like this. And so up in that point, you get Todd McFarlane pops up and says, "Oh yeah, and there he was in the first issue, as the Gray Hulk." But that didn't last too long because green's a much better, color for monsters, and they just go by that. Okay, mm-hmm. I started to laugh. And that's one of the things of being married to a comic geek. My wife turns around and looked at me and she goes, that wasn't intentional, was it? She says, "I remember you telling those stories all the time," and I started to laugh. And for any of our younger listeners who do not know the story of mm-hmm. the Hulk, okay, the Hulk was always supposed to stay gray.
Right.
Right. The color separates got the color plates wrong. And when issue 2 came back into the Marvel offices, he was green. So Stan had to hurry up and rewrite a line that explained that it was an overdue reaction to the radiation that changed him to green. And then from that point on, he was green. But it was a mistake. He was never supposed to be green. He was supposed to be gray.
Yeah, that's been popping up a lot in quizzes and on YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for some reason that's been a very popular question to see how well you know Marvel.
Ooh, there you go.
Nice. That's probably why they brought the Gray Hulk in at one point, just kind of as a nod.
Well, honest to God, and I tell you that because again, I'm a kid buying those comics, and when I bought every one of those. So the following month, when the second issue of the Hulk came out, I bought it, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's wrong with this one? I go digging into my pile and go, wait a minute, he's not gray anymore. So you read the story, and of course, I'm 13 years old. I have no clue about the process of making comics. So I'm buying Lee's, oh, okay, there was a plan. Yeah, right. Yeah. All these kids at that time. It wasn't until we were adults that the story came out. We went, oh yeah, pull one over your readers. Way to go, Stan.
So that's actually, we mentioned monsters. That's actually a good segue. John, if you think we have time for that, I'm going to dive into that.
Sure. We can go through the list really quick because it is actually a really kind of sad, pathetic, and lame list. Which is kind of why I wanted to mention it because it obviously doesn't really have respect for the classic monsters at all. This is obviously something written by someone who's much younger and didn't really do their homework. And going the Complex one from Complex.com is kind of the worst violator of this. Going from low to high, or from 15 to 1. Yeah. They mention vermin.
We should mention that these are these are 15 scariest monsters in comic books. The other one's the 13 greatest comic monsters.
Right. This 15 scariest. Number 15 is Vermin, who is essentially a giant rat.
Which, scary.
Very scary. This is set in New York. Human-sized rats are not that unusual. I don't know why this is supposed to be scary. I'll give them Saduhem. Saduhem is pretty much Cthulhu personified. Saduhem, for people who don't know, if you remember the Hellboy movie, that's who the big tentacle thing was supposed to be.
Ah, okay.
He's a bit more articulate in the comics, but but it just I'll give them that one. But then the next one would be. And they seem to be jumping around a lot. Fin Fang Foom would be their next one. I'm sorry, nothing that runs around in little purple underwear is scary.
I never thought of him as a scary character either.
He is if you're of a certain age. It's like, ooh, dragon in purple shorts. Ooh, I'm scared.
What age would that be?
5.
5, if you're lucky. And, he had this, it wasn't even necessarily a dragon face. He had this huge nose.
Yeah.
The face was more kind of elongated man than dragon to begin with. And, like I said, purple shorts. Not scary.
Right.
Nope.
Man-Bat, once again, not really all that scary, honestly, because he kind of ran between being villain and hero.
Yeah.
Kind of anti-hero, big giant bat, yeah, kind of scary maybe, but once again, never portrayed as a scary character.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that particular character, I think it didn't, in comics, it could never really work that well. It was only when they started doing the Batman and the animated series,
right?
Yeah,
that they brought him to animation.
Yep.
And then I got the scary.
Yeah.
Right? When he can move out of the shadows and fall on people and stuff like that, that was one creepy dude, but only because of the animation.
Yeah. Yeah, comic-wise, I always felt like Marvel's Lizard did that particular... You could compare and contrast those two characters because they're basically the same kind of origin. I always thought the Lizard was better at that.
Man-Bat always seemed more misunderstood to me than kind of horrific or anything like that. And that's kind of the way they portrayed him. But little trivia for people who didn't know, Man-Bat was the first quote-unquote villain on Batman the Animated Series.
Yep.
So there you go. Take that to the bank. Nice. Another one, Werewolf by Night. They didn't make him particularly scary either. He was kind of an anti-hero. They claim he's still one of the scariest looking characters to populate the Marvel Universe, and not really.
That really depends on the artist's rendition.
Yeah, it really depends on the artist. A lot of times he looks like an overgrown dog.
Yep.
A little bit like a Wookiee every now and then. And just not anything that's portrayed necessarily that scary. Back in the 1950s, I will give them that the EC Comics zombie, the Tales from the Crypt zombie, quote unquote, was probably more scary. But, that was also given kind of that time period where they could be more scary. I mean, if you contrast that, and then they have the quintessential Marvel zombie, the first Marvel zombie, not, the ridiculous zombifying of everything Marvel.
Yeah, the one from the 50s.
Yeah, the one from the 50s.
Or 60s, whatever.
Yeah, who honestly looked more like... Yeah, it's 53. The one who honestly looked more like some of the renditions they were doing of the Frankenstein monster.
Yes.
The Marvel one did.
Yeah.
Now, the one from EC, that one was much more truly gory and dripping and everything like that. The Marvel one tended to be kind of this extremely buff guy who just happened to be white.
Yep.
And speaking of extremely buff white guys, you got Mobius the Living Vampire.
Oh, man. Talk about goofy.
Yeah.
Oh,
not only just goofy, but...
So far, this article sounds like someone went to Wikipedia, typed in comic book monsters, and just randomly threw in 15.
Pretty
I'm
much.
afraid so, honestly.
Yeah, because the next one,
Yeah, because, with Mobius, once again, never portrayed that horrific.
Right.
They gave him a pig nose instead of a vampire nose.
He looked goofy as hell.
Yeah, and the whole, it wasn't even drinking blood, it was like psychic vampire crap or whatever.
It was, didn't he suck plasma out of you with his fingers or something?
Oh yeah, it was out of his hand or something like that.
Something
it was kind of lame. Then I have to call complete shenanigans on this one. Etrigan.
He rhymes for crying out loud.
He rhymes for crying out loud. And it's only very recently that they started to portray him at all, much more demonic.
Right. Yeah, he's always been kind of a do-gooder.
Yeah. He's the protagonist of the book. I mean,
Exactly, and his, one of the guys in the book was a pillow. So it's, and Violator is the next one, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this one.
It's from Spawn.
It's from Spawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another demon type.
Yeah. Okay, I know what you mean.
He's not. I guess he's kind of interesting to look at, but.
What's he look like? A giant? He looks like a giant praying mantis, doesn't he?
Honestly, yeah. That's about the best way to say it. He's got these ridiculously huge horn things coming out of the side of his face.
Yeah.
Then his mouth kind of unhinges like a snake's.
Yeah.
But the way it is drawn here, those horn things are inside his mouth.
Yep.
Where he'd actually close his mouth at some point, those horn things would be inside his mouth. Like those poor wild pigs that have the horns that eventually grow into their heads and kill them.
Yeah.
I kind of get the same idea from this.
Mm.
And if you want to feel completely ridiculous, they choose Man-Thing as one of the scary monsters. Not really all that scary, I guess, unless you feel fear around him. But
I don't know. That character is such a joke. And
yeah,
it's hard
honestly,
to take it seriously. Sorry, Bill Gladman. If you're out there somewhere, we know you're a fan.
We know you love him, but, and especially with them trying to shoehorn him into the Avengers, that was ridiculous.
Oh, man.
I mean, just the stupidest bit of writing I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing, I'm sorry. Man-Thing. Slight faux pas there. Belongs nowhere near anybody avenging anything.
Right.
The next one, another kind of goofy character, Solomon Grundy.
I think that character could potentially be very scary.
He could be, I guess. I mean, there have been a couple of times. I know when he fought Batman, a couple of times he was completely mindless.
Yeah.
And would just keep, repeating his little nursery rhyme there.
Right, which I think goes, if you really told a story with that, it builds up the suspense of who the character could be. Yeah. But
then, James Robinson took him and made him an extremely docile and kind of lovable character, too. So, but then conversely, Grant Morrison took him and made him like a white chalk skin Lex Luthor in like that early run of Justice League. During the Tornadoes quest or whatever it was.
Right.
So yeah, kind of weird. One that I'll give you if it's done right, Killer Croc.
Right.
I get, like, in the video game, the ones I've seen for the video games, yes.
Oh, yes, definitely.
The ones I've seen on Batman the Animated Series, most definitely not.
Yeah.
And the one
he really is played for humor there.
Yeah.
And
the one from the Brian Azzarello run of Batman.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, he was a pimp, and he had gotten his teeth fixed.
He was literally.
It was terrible.
It was sad. One that finally they got a decent one, and it's Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, or should probably be Frankenstein Monster. The only truly, classic Universal monster on the list so far, actually at all.
That boggles my mind. It boggles my mind because I would totally agree with Wrightson's Frankenstein. I was talking with comic book people at that Rocky Mountain Con I was at a couple of weeks ago, and that got brought up because people were talking about the artwork and stuff like that, and all of us agreed it's easily the best graphic interpretation of the Mary Shelley novel ever done. Wrightson's work is pure genius in it, all right? And that is very moody, atmospheric, and a very creepy and scary monster. Now, I think the companion piece to that coming out of Marvel, and I am really dismayed it's not on this list, but, as you said, this is obviously a bunch of, slackers who have no clue what they're doing anyways. But how the hell do you not include Dracula, Tomb of Dracula,
exactly,
with Gene Colan,
Dracula,
which is easily one of the best Dracula comics ever done. Wow.
Yeah, just the artwork on that was frightening. Taking away the dialogue and everything else from that.
Yep.
Those 70s comics, if you can find them, or if you can find an anthology, like the early Blade stuff, go look at that.
Colin's work on that character, he is fiendish.
Exactly, and horrific, know, and you were saying with this, it's much more of an interpretation of what Shelley wanted. For people who have only ever seen the Universal movie, This is not that.
No.
This is Mary Shelley's version, which is essentially an animated corpse.
Yep.
So no flat top, no bolts in the neck, no, giant lumbering feet.
Nope.
This is a slim, incredibly well rendered. I'm a big, huge fan of a lot of line work, a lot of rendering.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I really dig and really, like to do myself. And, this is like over the top.
Oh, it's emaciated. It's
beautiful.
emaciated.
Yeah.
His body looks like, those horrific images we saw at the end of World War II of the Jewish survivors of the concentration camps. And that's that look that Wright puts in him, okay? And yeah, it's a living corpse.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, this is going way off topic. Way back in college a million years ago, in some class, I saw this thing. I think it was called Blood and Sand. It was this documentary, where, the Nazis were pushing, were pushing dead Jews into a mass grave. And that image has stuck with me so heavily over the years. And then, seeing that and your analogy of that, I'm like right there.
Yep.
With that, because it's so present in my mind. And, I was pissed off for days at that movie and having seen it. I've never seen it since, but it's stuck in my brain, So, and I mean, truly, this is truly that level of gruesome. So, kudos to him. And, a lot of people working today in the supposed horror genre could definitely take notes off of that. And then lastly, once again, misunderstood character, very seldomly done horrifically, the Swamp Thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the only time that I've seen Swamp Thing where I've actually thought of him as a monster was the very, very early stuff, which they retconned as being not Alec Holland.
Mm-hmm.
But some pilot or something. And then that one time he went and threatened to foliate Gotham unless they gave him Abby back.
Yeah.
And that was the only time he was really truly kind of a horrific sort of character.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, never really played for Fright. Never really played for, anything other than kind of your, average, everyday sort of character.
Right.
Yep.
So, and not to get too deeply into this other list, because I don't appear to have all of it anyway.
Right,
but,
I couldn't find the rest of it.
Yeah, but one thing I call complete shenanigans on, they have Computo, down here.
Huh?
Computo, the quote-unquote villainous computer from the Legion of Superheroes.
Oh, my God.
Because he was remorseless.
Because he was remorseless. But he looks like... He looked like something that Jack Kirby would have gone, no, that looks silly.
Yeah. he looks like the early model of like Short Circuit. You remember
exactly.
the movie?
The movie Short Circuit. Or he looks like the inside of like an old tube television. I mean, sure, he killed one of Triplicate Girl or whatever's
whatever her name is.
Bodies, yeah. But other than that, wow, come on, give us a break here.
Yeah.
So I would take to task both these list creators for, do some research. I mean, there are plenty of more horrific characters in comics. I mean, we said it easily. You could have popped Dracula in there. Honestly, I would have gone with something like some more of the Universal monsters. I mean, they've popped up in comics almost ubiquitously since they came out. And there's really been some horrifying characters in there. I mean, the kind of child molester toy man that they had back in the 80s. I don't know if many people will remember, but it was between the Wesley, I can't remember his name, but it was between the guy with the bald head and glasses and the kind of, striped suit.
Yeah.
And the kind of living marionette one.
Right.
Yeah, they had one in the middle there who was this creepy looking guy with goggles and kind of in sackcloth. And he was a child molester, essentially.
Well, that's how I felt. That's how I felt about the what was it? The ice cream man in Spawn.
In Spawn, yeah, Danny, whatever his name was.
That would give me nightmares. Totally.
Yeah, I mean, and what Spawn did to him, would give me nightmares too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was fitting, and he deserved every bit of it. But I mean, even Todd McFarlane's wife said, "Okay, that's the part I checked out.
Yeah.
That's the part I said I'm done with this. I'm not dealing with your stuff
he
anymore."
Was gross. He was absolutely gross. I was like, oh my god.
I mean, even on this list, I would put like Carnage and Venom above most of these on this list.
Well, yeah, I would put maybe Carnage.
Yeah, definitely Carnage.
Venom's kind of become, watered down.
Yeah, well, early Venom, but yeah, definitely Carnage.
God, even something like the Anti-Monitor was more frightening than like Vermin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's just a weird list.
Yeah, this is basically some guy who's never read comics.
It feels like it.
Yeah, who's probably just like, this isn't even do your research. Read some frickin' comics, for God's sake.
Please.
Yeah.
This is the kind of person who would read Winter Soldier #1 from after you guys described it and say, "Oh, this is cutting edge stuff, man. Yeah. I get this guy."
This is the new. This is a new Sienkiewicz here.
Oh man. On that note, I think it's time for us to start wrapping this one up. All right, so all that we have left is to go around the table and see what everybody has coming out, and going on. And Ron, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. What am I doing these days? Yeah. I'm actually rather busy. Got a couple of things going on. Airship 27 has got a couple of projects, hopefully that will be out in the next week or two. And one I do want to mention, because it includes yours truly, not only acting as editor, but participating. We're going to be releasing a new anthology series called Occult Detectives. And over the last, 4 or 5 years, several of our colleagues in the new pulp movement, writers like Josh Reynolds, Joel Jenkins, and Jim Beard, have come up with their own ideas for occult detectives. And the genre goes all the way back to the classic pulps. There were things like The Great Carnacki and different, Ravenwood, Stepson of Mystery, or whatever. So what we've decided to do is put out this anthology that basically features, four adventures featuring these occult detectives. And when the idea came about, the writers were all, kibitzing back and forth about doing this. I realized that we had one slot open because we usually like to have 4 stories in our anthologies. And I opted to be the guy who writes the classic occult detective, which again is Steppenwolf, Stepson of Mystery, that comes out of the classic pulps. And what I've done, and you guys have, funny enough to segue back to this, discussion we just ended, 10 years ago, Rob Davis and I, wrote and produced and drew a graphic novel called Daughter of Dracula. Well, 10 years later, for anybody who's read that particular graphic novel, there are some unanswered questions and plot threads that I've always wanted to get back to, and suddenly saw this opportunity to do that with this particular story. So sure enough, my my Ravenwood Stepson of Mystery story, which will be included in this collection, is actually a sequel of sorts, The Daughter of Dracula, and explains what happened to some of those characters after the graphic novel was finished. So I was happy to get that out of the way, to get it done. Comic book wise, I'm hot and heavy into writing the next story arc for Batman Domino Lady, Danger Coast to Coast, which is now going to be illustrated by a talented gentleman named Carlos Cabrera, and I've seen some of his early sketches on it, and they look absolutely fantastic. Oh, and that was the last thing I did want to mention. I sent Grant a notice about it earlier, but years ago now, we're going maybe on to 2-3 years, Bill Gladman and I created a comic book series called Price for the Asking, based on a character that we mutually created, Simon Price, who was a private investigator out of Detroit. And Bill had written the first issue, I'd written the second, and we collaborated on a third and final mystery, which sadly we can never get wrapped up because we couldn't get an art team on it. And so while at the Rocky Mountain Con 2 weeks ago, I ran into a young Colorado artist named Barry McLean, who showed me his portfolio, and it's absolutely, the guy does amazing work. We got to talking, we hit it off, and he basically said, I'd love to do something with you, Ron. So hadn't thought about it at that time, came back home from the convention, and a couple of days later was sitting there thinking about Barry and his work, and suddenly realized that we still had this undrawn Simon Price script hanging in the files. So I contacted Barry, and sure enough, he's agreed to do it, and he's now in the process of illustrating it. So, Bill, if you're out there, because for whatever reason, I found out from his daughter Rachel that he's off the internet this summer. I have no clue what that's about. But somebody get word to the Gladman, to the G-Man, that Man of Ash by him and me is now being illustrated. And what we're going to do is, once it's finished, Rob Davis will be publishing it through Redbud Studios. So a long time in the waiting, but we're getting it done, and that's what I've got going.
Awesome. Very cool. And I didn't know about that. I did get your email, by the way. Just hadn't had a chance to respond yet. All right, Gordon, what do you got?
Okay, well, I just found out this week that the story I've written for the Dreamer Syndicate New World Navigation Anthology, the editor, Mark, is putting together proofs. So by this time next week, I'll be looking over kind of my submission. So that will be hopefully within the next month or so published, and that's a prose story entitled When Angels Fall. I still am working on the Chicago TARDIS charity auction. So if you'd like to donate any memorabilia, fan art, etc., drop me a line at auction@chicagotardis.com. And as always, I have a short story in Prose Productions' Tall Pope collection. You can buy that on Amazon, either as a trade paperback or a Kindle. My story is Crossing McCausland. My mom just finished reading it while I was podcasting, and I'll be asking her opinion, but I'm sure she'll like it. So buy it for Mom.
Cool. No better endorsement. All right,
there you go.
John, what about you?
It'll be, I really loved it, Tiger. Well, I'm doing a little bit of art and a whole lot of writing these days. For the little bit of art, I'm still doing the 365 days non-consecutive worth of drawings. As I mentioned before, consecutive just didn't work out for me. So I'm also in the midst of modding a kind of gun-sword combo I found at a little store to make it a little more steampunky for my next visit with the Corn Island Steampunk folks. So there is that. I've just begun to put the first little thing on that. It's the first thing I've modded myself, so we'll see how it turns out. As far as writing, I'm doing a bunch. If anyone who's been on Comic Related lately might have noticed that I'm reviewing a bunch of art books. This is because the folks at Random House have requested me to do so for them. They have been sending me plenty of art books. I currently have 2 unreviewed and one I just finished for Halloween called Monstrously Funny Cartoons by Christopher Hart. I'm doing reviews of those on Comic Related and then passing that along to the folks at Random House. Also, just this past week, I've been contacted by the folks at DK Publishing, and they are also sending me books to review. So I'm doing a lot of writing in that vein. In addition to that, I am still writing my story for the reemergence of the Woman in Red. I'm still writing a gothic romance, or trying to write a gothic romance, for our old buddy Dave Arhar. And in addition to that, I'm, as always, writing a bunch of stuff for Comic Related. And I know I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I encourage people to go check out Comic Related. It has changed. It is new. It is different. Check it out. You'll like it. Even if you don't like it, check it out anyway. In addition to all that silliness, I will... Actually, no. At the time you were hearing this, if you listen to it the day it's posted, but the day after, this coming Saturday, I will be at the Oldham County Comic Con, also known as OC3, representing Comic Related and Derby City Comic Con. So come out there and check me out. It's in LaGrange. Look up OC3 on Facebook and you can find all their fun stuff. A lot of local and regional creators and vendors are going to be there. I promise to have tons of photos for everyone to look at, and I'm actually in the midst of writing a little pre-show article now, and we'll probably do something post-show as well. Gosh, I think that's about it. I hope that's it anyway.
If not, you can cover it next week.
Probably, yeah.
All right, not too much for me. Before I get to mine, I did want to send out a congrats to Kat from Comic Frontline. She had a Kickstarter going for Like Father, Like Daughter, her comic, and it has exceeded her goal. So she will be able to make that book a reality. So that's pretty
nice.
Cool. Yeah. And as for me, I did, in fact, join the NaNoWriMo thing, Ron, even against your warnings. But I haven't written that much. Hopefully by the time this goes live, there will be more up there, but we will see. I'm doing a story called Zacchaeus Streamwalker, and it's a story I've had in my head a long time, kind of based on my brother's injury several years ago. So interesting
What
stuff.
is the deadline on that?
It's 50,000 words in a month, so by the end of November.
Yeah, a book in a month. That's what this is about. You write an entire book in a month.
It's basically, it's not your best work. It's just trying. It's trying to push yourself to complete a work.
That's the finest understatement I've heard all year, Brent.
Yeah, and having done NaNoWriMo in the past, I can tell you that for our listeners to clarify, the philosophy behind it is like, if you make a mistake, you just keep going. You don't go back and edit.
Right. Yeah.
Because I actually did NaNoWriMo 1 year, and that novel will never ever be published because it is derivative crap, and I wrote it at work when I was bored. Okay.
Yep, there you
but the trick is, one, to do 2,500 words a day, so that's like 1 or 2 hours, and 2, that with this crappy novel, I've got stuff that I can plunder and use in other stories.
There you go.
Yeah,
of course.
If nothing else, it could be a very, very, very early draft of something. But
I was about to say, you're a better man than I, Bram, because look how long it's taken me to finish the Zone 4 comic.
That's true. It's one of those things where I've been wanting to write more and stuff, and I figured this was a way to motivate myself and push myself to actually produce something. So
and that's a real positive thing, Brent. All kidding aside, it's a good experience, and if nothing else, I mean, Hey, look, okay. Mike Barron's joke all the time. What's the secret of writing? Write.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. There's no other secret. Right. Okay. No complaint. No excuses. And an experience like this is a real learning experience to get you to do that. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, more power to you.
Thank you. And beyond that, I am currently working on some Assailant Comics projects. Working on the second issue of Open Tree right now. Don't know the release date for that at this point. Still going to keep talking about Singularity, Rise of the Posthumans, the steampunk superhero prose anthology novel that's going to be coming out at Christmas time this year, so be on the lookout for that as well. When I have the actual date, I will let everybody know, of course. Let's see. This Saturday on Comic Frontline, it's Media Madness. We're getting together to talk about all the comic TV shows. So Flash, Gotham, Constantine, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Arrow, all that. We're going to be talking about those. So tune into that. That should be on Comic Related as well. And just to echo John's sentiment about Comic Related, yeah, things are different. Basically, to put it in short terms, we are concentrating on a lot more original content, less on press stuff. So go visit and read and enjoy what we're putting together for you. So, and that's it. So that's our show, everybody. Thanks for listening once again. We'd like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Raywall Band and Society's Plague, that you hear on the show each and every week. We are proud members of the Comic Related Podcast Network. Of course, you can find us every week on Comic Related, Comic Frontline. You can find us on Stitcher, iTunes, comicspodcast.com, and wherever else. You can find us on Facebook. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for us, you can send those to zone4@comicrelated.com. As always, thanks for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
Good night, all.
Bye, everybody.
Watch out for snakes.
This is only a test for the X-Men.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production. Honk!